Chapter 12. The Marriage of Lord Nityananda. One day, Lord Nityananda woke up early in the morning and, taking a servant with him, went towards Ambika Nagar. He took along Udaran Dutt, who was a merchant by profession and his intimate associate. He arrived at the doorstep of Surya Das Pandit and sent Udaran Dutt inside the house. Udaran Dutt went inside and informed Surya Das of the Lord's arrival. He rushed out to greet the Lord. Falling at the feet of Nityananda Prabhu, he offered his obeisances and with folded hands said, "What a good fortune!" The Lord said, "I've come to you with a purpose. I want to marry. Please give me your daughter's hand." Pandit knew the glories of Nityananda Prabhu, but he forgot everything, bewildered by the Lord's illusory energy. The Brahmana humbly said, "How is it possible? We first have to consider many points like caste, stars, and family. Although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, you're an outcast and I'm a Brahmana." Hearing this reply, Nityananda Prabhu left that place as everyone watched in wonder. Surya Das Pandit felt disappointed and went inside the house. He contemplated, "Will my dream come true? O Lord Krishna, will it ever happen that by the arrangement of providence that Nityananda Prabhu will become my son-in-law?" Pondering over this, he went inside his house. Gathering his relatives, he informed them of the proposal. He said, "Last night I had a wonderful dream. I saw a wonderful person come to my house sitting on a chariot with a flag. He was huge, like a mighty wrestler. His complexion was golden and his eyes were reddish. His chariot stopped in front of my house. He got down from the chariot and smilingly asked, 'Is this Pandit Ji's house?' He carried a plow on his shoulder and held a stick in his hand. He gestured for me to come. Flowers decorated his hair and he wore golden earrings. He dressed with blue garments with anklets on his feet. He said to me, 'I'm going to marry your daughter. You haven't recognized me till today.' Saying this, he disappeared. Then I got up from the bed and found out that it was morning." As Janava heard the narration from within the room, her natural love for the Lord arose. Tears of love began to flow from her eyes. She covered her face with a cloth, but the cloth became soaked with her tears. Pandit continued, "Oh friends, now I've told you my wonderful dream." Someone said, "We see so many things in a dream. Nityananda Prabhu is the supreme Brahman, but we are the householders. How can we offer our daughter?" Surya Das Pandit was naturally soft-hearted. He became distressed and cried, "Save me, save me." All of a sudden, everyone heard crying from inside the house. Something had happened to Janava. They rushed inside and picked up Janava. They put her on the front veranda. She was unconscious and her eyes rolled in their sockets. Her whole body was cold and her face perspired. A doctor came and diagnosed that she had epilepsy, and there was no cure for it. Seldom does a person in such a case survive. He thus treated her according to the scripture. The doctor said, "Even after applying proper medication, there's no improvement. Now try to arrange for her spiritual rights. Take her to the bank of the Ganges, for she is your eldest daughter." Hearing the words of the doctor, Surya Das began to cry. Gauri Das, however, consoled him, saying, "I think we committed an offense at the lotus feet of Avaduta Nityananda. We must beg his pardon and bring him back as soon as possible. As long as we live in this world, we should try to maintain relationships. After death, relationships no longer remain. If he can protect our daughter, then we should arrange her marriage with him. This is my advice to all of you. This is our opinion. So let's all go to Nityananda Prabhu and fall at his lotus feet." Lord Nityananda was sitting underneath a banyan tree on the bank of the Ganges. Tears trickled from his eyes as he chanted the name of Krishna. Gauri Das, along with his relatives, went to Nityananda Prabhu and fell at his lotus feet. The Lord quickly picked him up while patting his back. Nityananda said, "You've all forgotten me. O coward men? Then he put his hands on his shoulders. Surya Das Pandit fell at the feet of Nityananda Prabhu and lamented, "You bewildered me completely. You're able to do anything, yet you never inspired me to give up my attachment for Varnashram Dharma. Please give us the shelter of your lotus feet and do good to all of us." Saying this, the Pandit took Lord Nityananda home. His daughter Janava was lying at the doorstep. Janava was covered with a cloth, and the sunshine fell on her. It appeared as if lightning were striking a cloud. Her eyes bulged in their sockets as tears fell incessantly. Her curly hair enhanced the beauty of her forehead. The signs of final moments of life appeared on her body. At that moment, the aroma of the Lord's body entered her nostrils. As she smelled this aroma, she regained her consciousness, touched by the art of revival. She hurriedly covered her face with a cloth and said, "Where am I? What's happening?" Then she got up and entered the house. Nityananda Prabhu, the reservoir of transcendental pastimes, displayed his six-armed form in the courtyard of Surya Das Pandit. His two upper hands held a bow and an arrow. His two middle hands held a plow and a stick, and his lower two hands carried a sannyas danda and water pot. His head was decorated with a crown, and his ears were decorated with earrings. His entire body was radiant with valuable jewels and ornaments. Seeing this form of the Lord, everyone fell at his feet. Pandit prayed to the Lord with folded hands. All the Brahmanas gathered there were struck with wonder seeing this form of the Lord. Soon this form disappeared from everyone's vision and only Lord Nityananda remained. Smiling at everyone, Lord Nityananda sat on the doorstep of a Vishnu temple as all the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas chanted, "Long life, long life." They all served Nityananda Prabhu with great care and affection and made him comfortable. All the learned Brahmanas and the family priest planned to award him the sacred thread according to the Vedic injunctions. They disclosed their plan to the Lord. The Lord accepted their proposal with laughter, saying, "Do whatever you like. I have nothing to say. Only Chaitanya Gosai is independent." When everyone heard the Lord's approval, they became very happy. The Pandit began to arrange for the marriage. He collected articles for a marriage that would be as opulent as that of a prince. He gathered things by begging and by his profession. He invited all his neighbors for the marriage ceremony. He brought a large quantity of betel nuts and pan. The Brahmana then called his family priest and carefully chose an auspicious day for the marriage. From that day, there was a constant celebration at the Pandit's house. His friends and relatives began to arrive day by day. The musicians played various instruments and hundreds of Brahmanas were fed daily. The women distributed vermilion, betel nuts, pan, oil, and sweets to all the ladies. On the day of the marriage, the Brahmanas came to Surya Das Pandit's house after finishing their regular duties. They brought suitable items for performing sacrifices such as flowers, kushagras, sitting mats made of kushagras, wooden mortars, and spoons. They brought a stick, water pot, umbrella, pair of shoes, belt, kolpin, deerskin, Brahmana thread, and ghee. After all the Brahmanas prepared the sacrifice, the head priest asked Nityananda Prabhu to come to the sacrificial arena. As Nityananda Prabhu sat in the midst of the Brahmanas, they offered ghee in the sacrificial fire chanting Vedic mantras. After completing the formalities required by the scriptures, the Brahmanas put a stick and water pot in Nityananda's hands. He wore a saffron-colored kalpin and chadar with a saffron bag on his shoulder. The Lord begged, "Mother, please give me alms." The wife of Surya Das Pandit respectfully put gold, silver, and money in the Lord's bag. When the priest told Surya Das Pandit to bring the bride, Nityananda Prabhu said, "Do that later." Then Lord Nityananda whispered something into the ear of the priest, who quickly said, "That's all right." Holding a stick and water pot, Lord Nityananda laughed loudly again and again. He wore wooden shoes and held an umbrella in his hands. He appeared just like a young Brahmana lad to everyone. Seeing his enchanting form, the ladies smilingly said, "He must be the younger brother of Sri Ramachandra. This is what we feel." The Lord entered a secluded inner room and remained there for 3 days continuously. Rising early in the morning of the 4th day, the Lord looked at the sun and the Brahmanas before coming out of his house. The most attractive Nityananda Prabhu then offered his obeisances to Lord Vishnu and sat on a wooden throne. Hundreds of women from Navadvip came to the house of Surya Das Pandit, holding each other's hands and shoulders. They decorated their eyes with black ointment and chewed betel nuts. They arrived at the house of the Pandit while swinging their hands and bodies. The priest came to perform the duties to be done the day before the marriage, while the ladies made auspicious sounds on all sides. The priest tied yellow threads on the hands of Lord Nityananda and Janava Mata. She then went inside the house with her own head down. The musicians played auspicious sounds in various instruments. People dove and surfaced in the ocean of joy. As the ladies fetched water for the ceremony, some of them said, "Janava's indeed the most fortunate. Who else could have got such a beautiful groom except Revati, who previously got such a wonderful husband?" Someone said, "They look exactly like Shankara and Parvati." Others said, "They look just like Lakshmi and Narayan." Another said, "It's like the meeting of Kamadev and Rati." Yet others said, "They are like Ram and Sita." In this way, they spoke their minds to each other. They laughed and fell on each other as if drunk. They were all simple young girls at the marriage of their friend and were unable to check their jubilation. The whole day passed in such blissful events. Finally, the auspicious time for the marriage arrived. Then, Surya Das Pandit told his relatives to decorate both the bride and groom. Hearing this, everyone became very happy. Nityananda Prabhu came and sat in the courtyard of the Vishnu temple, and Gauri Das Pandit began to decorate him. Nityananda was naturally most enchanting. The Pandit put tilak and sandalwood paste on his forehead. Naturally intoxicated with prem, Lord Nityananda's eyes always moved in circles. The Pandit put black ointment on those eyes. The Lord's beautiful raised nose was marked with tilak and sandalwood paste. The beauty of his face defeated the beauty of the moon. His broad chest was decorated with sandalwood paste and flower garlands. He wore white garments and a white Brahmana thread. It appeared like Lord Anantashesh covering Lord Balaram. A crown adorned his head, and he wore beautiful earrings. The golden ornaments adorning him shone brightly. The artistic ladies sat in a private place and began to decorate Janava with undivided attention. They combed and braided her hair in various attractive ways. 2 colorful clusters of jute hung from her head to her back, covering both her ears. They made many beautiful braids with her hair beginning from her forehead. Wiping her face with the corner of their saris, they decorated it with kumkum. They adorned her forehead with the marks of tilak and applied black ointment to her eyes. They embellished her forehead and cheeks with many beautiful dots of sandalwood paste. They put tilak on her nose and became captivated by her beauty. Then they began to dress her up. They put a golden ring with a pearl hanging from it in the tip of her nose. It swung on the top of her upper lip as she moved. It appeared as if honeybees were falling over a sesame flower. Janava was wearing a golden kanti mala with a locket that hung to her chest. She was decorated in the most attractive manner, and her beauty was matchless. Golden earrings resembling champak flowers decorated her ears, appearing like lightning. The earrings were fixed at one place, yet they desired to touch her other limbs. The golden bracelets and bangles bedecked her hands. She wore golden ankle bells on her beautiful reddish feet. After decorating her properly, they put betel nut in her mouth and hung garlands of fragrant flowers on her neck. They sprinkled scented oil all over her body. Then all the relatives and friends of Surya Das Pandit told him to take his daughter and circle the groom. Pandit at once accepted the proposal, saying, "Whatever you all say, I must follow." Everyone rushed in all directions to gather the necessary items for the marriage. They brought various articles before Surya Das Pandit and set them before Lord Nityananda. They then made him sit on a palanquin. The musicians began to play their instruments, filling the entire sky with sound. The singers and dancers sang and danced perfectly in tune with the music. Lord Nityananda beheld all this dressed in divine garments. Sitting on a palanquin, Nityananda Prabhu was taken on a procession through the streets as an auspicious sound of joy filled the four directions. The women of the city lined in their doorsteps with their babies on their laps to have a glimpse of the groom. Young boys rushed to the spot and became overwhelmed with happiness as they joined the singing. After roaming all over the city, Nityananda Prabhu, resembling a full moon, arrived at the doorstep of Surya Das Pandit. Surya Das Pandit offered incense, ghee lamp, sandalwood paste, and flower garlands to Nityananda Prabhu. He then led him by his hand to the marriage arena. Someone sprinkled scented water before Nityananda as he walked. The ladies began to make auspicious sounds of uludvani. Then he stood on a low wooden platform. His radiance filled all directions. Holding ghee lamps and flower garlands, all the brahmanas circled Nityananda 7 times. The ladies smiled, covering their mouths with their saris and falling on each other. They then brought the bride on a beautiful throne and made her circle Nityananda 7 times. Janava and Nityananda glanced at each other as everyone threw flowers and pan. Their spontaneous love for each other awakened. After a long time, when Janava saw her beloved Lord, she held her head down in shyness. They took Janava aside the room, and all the brahmanas began to complete the formalities according to the injunctions. Surya Das Pandit offered jewelry, clothes, and other items to Nityananda Prabhu and formally accepted him as his son-in-law. Then he brought his daughter and offered her to Nityananda Prabhu in charity as per the Vedic injunctions. Taking his daughter and son-in-law inside, he made them sit on a divine bed decorated with many flowers. Many young girls also entered the room, teasing and joking with the new groom. The whole night passed in joyous happiness. In the morning, Nityananda Prabhu took bath and sat down for the Vedic ceremony of putting sindoor, vermilion, on the bride's head. The brahmanas then performed the fire sacrifice according to the Vedic rules. Finally, hundreds of brahmanas were served a feast. Nityananda Prabhu lived happily at the house of Surya Das Pandit for a few days. One day, Sri Janava was serving Nityananda his lunch of Krishna Prasad with utmost care. The younger daughter of Surya Das Pandit, Vasudha, whose mind was firmly attached to Nityananda since her childhood, came to assist. As she was serving prasad to Nityananda Prabhu, all of a sudden, the part of her sari covering her head fell off. Since both of her hands were engaged in serving, she manifested 2 more hands and replaced her sari on her head. Seeing this, Nityananda Prabhu caught hold of her hand and made her sit on his right side. Nityananda then said to Surya Das Pandit, "I'll take your younger daughter with me as a dowry." Surya Das Pandit replied, "I have no objection. There's nothing I can refuse you. I've surrendered my own caste, life, wealth, house, associates, and everything else at your lotus feet." Saying this, Pandit raised his hands and danced in ecstasy while chanting Hari Hari. He prayed, "O Krishna, O Yadava, please be merciful to me, so that I may fix my mind, body, and speech at the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu." He explained all the details to his relatives. They all smilingly approved everything. They said, "We've also become lucky by your association. In fact, Who has the power to disobey the Lord? With folded hands, everyone said to Surya Das Pandit, "You've actually purchased Krishna in Kali Yuga." Nityananda Prabhu inspired everyone of Ambika Kalna to float in the ocean of bliss. Accepting the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet.